So, as everybody knows, Ilia Topuria brutally slimed out my glorious king, Charles Oliveira, in his last fight. And it's kind of just left everybody scratching their heads with who he's going to fight next. There's a lot of names that have been thrown up as to who should fight Ilia next. I'm not concerned with who he should fight next. I'm more concerned about who would do the best against him. And that's who he should fight, is whoever would have the best chance of beating him. Because at this stage in Ilia's career, he's fought Max Holloway, who's the top 10 fighter of all time, Volkanovski, who's top 3 all time, and now he's fought Charles Oliveira, who's top 20 all time, right? He has to keep fighting the level of opponent he's been fighting, or there's just not going to be really interest in the fight. So Tony has died. I'm going to be ranking the Ilia Topuria opponents from easiest to hardest. If you like the video, like, subscribe, do all that YouTube shit. Thank you guys so much for 9,000 subscribers. Dude, we went from like 8,000 to 9,000 in like a week. This is getting crazy. The growth of my channel is getting crazy. You know, I'm going to be rookie of the year or whatever at this point. But starting with the first entry on the list, which is literally everybody else that I'm not going to mention. Rafael Fiziev, Dariush, Grant Dawson, Moicano, Yoel Alvarez, Bahamundes, Michael Chandler, Benoit Saint-Denis, Fares Ziam, Ludovic Klein. You know, just some of these people at lightweight that can maybe go on a run in like 2 or 3 years and get themselves a title shot. They would all get slimed out, bro. They would all get fucking killed by Ilia. Because let's just talk to some of the strengths of Ilia, bro, when I'm at this section. He has the best boxing I think we have ever seen. He holds unbelievable knockout power. He has submission threat. He has wrestling. He has grappling. He has good head movement. He is the full package, and there is nothing, you know, let me just hop on the Glaze train, just start Hawk 2 and Ilia Topuria here. He is the best fighter I think I've ever seen. So no average Joe is going to beat Ilia Topuria. We're going to have to throw some bigger names in the hat to try to kill Ilia. So let's get on to the next entry on the list. The next person on this list is Dan the Hangman Hooker. What is there to say about Dan Hooker versus Ilia Topuria? I think we all know exactly what would happen in this fight, man. We have seen Dan Hooker's weaknesses exposed. You know, the fight with Gameamrock, he got taken down a lot in that fight. Ilia Topuria, he has great wrestling and grappling. Ilia Topuria is also one of the best boxers in the UFC. Dustin Poirier, who I think we can all agree is not a better boxer than Ilia, he outboxed Dan Hooker in their fight, you know? Power-wise, Ilia Topuria is the most powerful fighter in the UFC right now. Dan Hooker got knocked out by Michael Chandler, bro. And we know Michael Chandler is not a better technical fighter than Ilia. So I think we all would know how Dan Hooker versus Ilia Topuria would go. It's like that meme, coughing baby versus atomic nuclear bomb or whatever. So yeah, man, I don't think that Dan Hooker stands even a 1% chance against Ilia. I think Ilia would probably knock him out in 30 seconds. He also gets dropped in every fight. I mean, he got dropped by Gameamrock, dropped by Jalen Turner. It would not be a pretty day for Dan Hooker, all right? And the next person on this list, it wouldn't be a pretty day for him either. Justin Gaethje. What the fuck is Justin Gaethje going to do to Ilia Topuria? And he's calling, dude, I made a whole video talking about this. He is calling for the title shot right now. Bro, I want only legacy fights. Your legacy is barn burners and entertaining fights. Your legacy has nothing to do with championship status or whatever. Your legacy is bangers, and that's what it will be forever. So saying, bro, I need a title shot for my legacy, man. You just beat Fiziev, bro. You beat Fiziev on like a short notice, bro. You're not getting a fucking title shot against Ilia. But back to what I was saying originally. What is Justin Gaethje going to do to Ilia? Is he going to outstrike him? No. Is he going to shoot takedowns on him? No. He would be stuck on the feet with Ilia, and he's just not as good a striker. He's been knocked out in the past. 2 fights ago, he got fucking killed by Max Holloway, who Ilia fucking slimed. So I think it would be a bad day. It would be a bad day for Justin Gaethje if he ever stepped foot in the cage with Ilia Topuria, man. And the next person on the list, we got Paddy the Baddy Pimplet. Now, one thing I will say about Paddy is that we saw Bryce Mitchell have a little bit of success with the takedowns, right? Bryce Mitchell was able to take Ilia down, hold him there a little bit. He actually had some moments on the feet as well. But the point I'm trying to make is that Bryce Mitchell is like the only person that has had a super heavy wrestling approach to try to beat Ilia. And he had a little bit of success in the fight. And Paddy Pimplet, he is going to be so much bigger than Ilia Topuria if they ever fought each other. So there is a chance that Paddy could take Ilia down just because we haven't seen anybody try to push the wrestling hard except for Oliveira. And we saw what happened to him. And Bryce and Oliveira are the only people that have ever really tried to do wrestling on Ilia, right? So at the end of the day, though, Paddy Pimplet just gets hit too much. And you can't get hit too much. It's the same thing with Oliveira. So it's like, yeah, Oliveira, he got hit a lot in his fights, but he could take a hit low-key because he would just get dropped and he wouldn't get chinned. But if you get hit by Ilia, you're going out. And Paddy Pimplet's head movement is abysmal. Like, we saw the Jared Gordon fight. That was only a couple of fights ago. Tony Ferguson has had a lot of success in his fight with Paddy. Michael Chandler landed a couple good shots. If Ilia Topuria lands the same shots Michael Chandler landed on Paddy, it's good night, Paddy, man. There's no getting up from that. So ultimately, I think that there are some advantages in the fight for Paddy compared to these other people that we've already talked about, but I don't think there's strong enough advantages to give him any legitimate chance besides maybe taking Ilia down and subbing him. But it'd have to be a very off night for Ilia. And speaking of wrestling, I got the next person on this list, which is Mateusz Gameamrock. I'm praying to Allah that the Gameamrock guy hasn't followed me to YouTube yet. But Gameamrock, man, I think that he is ultimately just a better grappler than Paddy Pimplet, and he has faced higher level opponents than Paddy Pimplet. So I think that in terms of wrestling ability, Gameamrock is one of the best wrestlers in the UFC. We saw his fight with Armen where, yeah, he out-wrestled him. I don't really think he out-damaged him, but he out-wrestled Armen Serukian in some moments. He takes down his opponents pretty easily. Gameamrock is a really good wrestler, and similar to what I was saying with Paddy is that we've seen a couple of people have some success in the grappling. We've also seen people not have success in the grappling, but Gameamrock is basically just I wouldn't say he's a rich man Paddy because they don't really fight similarly at all, but they have similar strengths. Like, I think that wrestling and grappling is obviously what Gameamrock's going to be trying to go for, and he's a wet blanketer, he's like the Aljamain Sterling of lightweight. He's like he's the back taker, he's the hold the position over submission guy. So ultimately, though, I don't think Gameamrock can do enough damage in a fight against Ilia, bro. I don't like Gameamrock. He's always having close split decisions because, yeah, he can get control time, but he's not damaging. He also gets dropped in all of his fights as well. Similar to Hooker, he got dropped against Hooker. He got dropped against fucking RDA. Yeah, man, I don't think Gameamrock would stand much of a chance, but I think he has a better chance than Paddy because I do think that his fundamentals are just better than Paddy's. So yeah, and we're gonna talk about another wrestler in Mavsar Evalev. Now, if for some reason Ilia Topuria ever wanted to go back to 145, Mavsar Evalev is knocking on the gate right now. But similar to what I was talking about with Gameamrock is Mavsar Evalev is a wet blanketer, and I don't think that he'll be able to just take Ilia Topuria down at will. I mean, we saw Charles Oliveira have double underhooks on Ilia Topuria. That is basically a guaranteed takedown. And Ilia just kind of bitched Oliveira, bro. And I think that we can all agree that Oliveira is a better grappler than Mavsar Evalev. I don't know if we could all agree on that. I mean, Mavsar is pretty good and he's in his prime. Oliveira, he was kind of old when he fought. But my point still stands is that Ilia has really good anti-grappling fundamentals. And I don't think if Mavsar really has a lot for him on the feet. Now, on the feet, he is underrated. If we watch the Arnold Allen fight, he did do a lot of good work on the feet against Arnold Allen. Arnold Allen, he is not someone to be messing around with the striking. He took 2 rounds off of Holloway himself. So Mavsar's striking is improving, but he is primarily a grappler and a smudge grappler, and I don't think he would do enough damage on Ilia. And the next person on this list, we got Max Blessed Holloway. We already saw how the first fight went, so I don't think that Max would really stand much of a chance in a rematch. But there is always the question that maybe Max Holloway at the 155 pounds is a different beast. Because we just saw what it looks like when Max Holloway is properly bulked at 155. Just masterclass to Dustin Poirier. I mean, I guess you could say it's Dustin Poirier's retirement fight. He already beat Max twice. But what I'm trying to say is, look what Holloway did to Gaethje. He just completely schooled him. Look what he did to Poirier. He just schooled him. And those are his last fights at 155. He was, he took a round off of Ilia in their fight. Maybe Max Holloway at 155 stands a better chance than the Max Holloway that fought Ilia at 145. Their fight was super competitive before Ilia ultimately found the knockout. But just like I was saying with Patty, Max just gets hit too much. He had the most uncrackable chin ever. And now he got flatlined by Ilia. So it's like, Ilia at 155 is going to possess more power than Ilia at 145. So what's really the fucking difference, You could say, bro, 155 Holloway, he's a different beast. Well, I could say the same thing, man. I could say 155 Ilia is a different beast. Because who does that to Charles Oliveira, So, yeah, man. I think that Holloway, he's just always going to lose to someone like Ilia. I mean, he got dropped by Poirier, for Christ's sake, 36-year-old Poirier. But he also dropped Poirier in the first round, so who knows? But I think I know. I think, in a rematch, Holloway stands like a 20% chance of beating Ilia. So I don't really think it would be like much different. There's always, he is in his prime right now, and he could pose some problems like he did in the first fight, but ultimately at the end of the day, I don't think he stands much of a chance, Speaking of rematches, the Volkanovski rematch, it really would depend. I just don't think that Volk is the same. I still think he is a really good fighter, and that's what's kind of crazy is that the Volk that fought Lopez, I don't think it's prime Volk at all. I think he has lost his chin still, and I think he is slower to react to some of the stuff. Like, we look at this Volk versus the Volk that fought Max, or the Volk that fought Ortega. It's night and day, man. But he's still a really, really good fighter. So, he beat Ilia the first round. So, I think technicality-wise, Volk has as good of a chance as anybody else. But at the end of the day, he is super chinny. And Ilia finds the chins. That's what he does. He finds people's chins, and he puts them out cold. So, I don't think that Volkanovski really stands much of a... I think he did better than Max in the moments that he had. So, I feel like on the feet, he'll be winning all the exchanges, which is I think Volk is a better fighter technically than Ilia, but I don't think he can take the same... if he gets hit with a shot from Ilia, it's over. So, Volk could beat Ilia if he fought perfectly for 25 minutes, but I don't think this version of Volk has the ability to fight perfectly for 25 minutes. So, yeah, that's my chances for Volkanovski. I think that he probably stands like a 25% chance. And here's a sleeper pick, bro, that nobody's thinking about, right? Gene Silva. Gene Silva is someone that I think will probably be the 145 champion very soon. I am going to be picking him to beat Diego Lopez, spoiler alert. And I think that he's going to beat Mavsar, and I think he beats Volkanovski as well, man. I might be overrating this guy a lot, all right? But from what I have seen, he is super calm in the cage. He is super well collected. And he has fought at 155 before against Drew Dober. And think about his performance against Drew Dober. He literally broke both of his hands on Drew Dober's face. This guy, he is as good as a striker as you can get. Super relaxed in the cage. He has nothing worrying him. So I think that he has as good of a chance. Out of all the puncher's chances that you could have, I think that Gene Silva probably has the best puncher's chance for somebody that's realistically going to fight Ilia, Yeah, this could age to be a bad take. I'm not trying to be a fucking fence sitter here, but I think that Gene Silva really does stylistically pose a lot of problems. I think he fights well off the back foot. I think he throws good leg kicks. And I think he has the power to hit someone like Ilia and pose some real problems to him technically. And I think he also has the grappling, I think he can, hang with him in the grappling. Look at the Bryce Mitchell fight. He stuffed a lot of those takedowns and stuff. So, yeah, man, I think that Gene Silva, out of all the strikers, I think that Gene Silva is probably the person that realistically has the best chance of beating Ilia. And listen, man, Ilia ducked Gene Silva, man. He ran away from 145 because this guy was coming. All right, but yeah, let's move on to the next one. Armen Serukian, that's a real thing. The rich boy himself, Armen Serukian. I think that Armen poses a pretty big threat to Ilia, man. I think out of all the people that can mix the martial arts, Armen is probably the second best that will fight Ilia. So I think that Armen is really good at mixing the striking and the wrestling and the grappling together. And not only that, I just think that Armen, you watch his fight with Oliveira, he beat Oliveira. You watch his first fight with Makhachev, super competitive fight. And we saw how good Makhachev went on to be. The fight with Gameamrock, I think that there's a better argument for 50-45 Serukian than 48-47 Gameamrock, I think that Armen Serukian just poses a lot of problems. Like, he has the submission threat, he has a knockout threat, he has all the threats, but it's about showing up, man. Like, I don't know if he'd be able to come and show up. I know it's like, oh, bro, he's only missed weight once. Bro, it was the biggest fight of his career. It was the rematch to redeem himself, and he missed weight, and he wasn't there. So, and also, at the end of the day, it comes down to drive, It's like being rich and sleeping in the satin sheets. That does affect your fucking work ethic when you're fighting, man. Like, it's like when the times get hard, are you going to bite down on the mouthpiece? It's like, I don't know if Armen can do that against Ilia. Especially at the highest level. We saw what happened when he got to the highest level. He folded under pressure, but yeah, man, I think Armen has a lot of striking that he could pose, and I think he can mix it in super well. But at the end of the day, I think that he also has been dropped by fucking bums. Like, I think it was Bruno Felipe something. I don't even remember. He's some random Brazilian guy who ended up losing his next fight. He dropped Armen Serukian. And you could say maybe Armen was just looking past him and kind of overrated him, but that wasn't very long ago. And the Gameamrock did have success in their fight. So I think that Ilia can kind of implement some of the similar stuff. And here's what else I'll say, man. I think there's levels to this game. And I think that Armen Serukian is closer to Charles Oliveira's level than Ilia Topuria's level. And we saw what fucking Ilia did to Charles. So, yeah, take that what you will, The next person on my fucking list is the fight that we all wanted, man. The fight that should have been made in the first place. Islam Makhachev, all right? Send him 2-3 years, brother. Forget, Islam, speaking of Islam, bro, I saw him today talking about the 2-3 years Dagestan shit. He's dragging that shit like the low taper fan. He's like, bro, send him 2-3 years, dude. We get it, bro. Send him 2-3 years. He's like the black belt checker out here, checking everyone's black belts and shit, bro. But the point I'm trying to make here is, I think out of everybody, Islam Makhachev, he is him, bro. Like, I think that this is a 50-50 fight. The size advantage for Islam, he's probably around the same size as someone like Colby Covington or Gilbert Burns, where he can be a small 170er. Ilia used to fight at 135, man. So, yeah, man, I just think that the size, like, people, dude, here's something I'll say. Lighter man's skill is a thing that exists, right? But there is a reason that weight classes exist, There is a reason that 145ers don't fight 170ers, and it's because power doesn't translate up weight classes as well as you think, okay? There comes a point where it's like, yeah, Demetrius Johnson, he might be a super technical fighter, but he weighs 125 pounds, and someone like fucking Shamil Gaziev would take Demetrius Johnson and sleep him out in the first round just because he's so much bigger than him, and that's not Demetrius Johnson's fault. So weight classes exist for a reason, and I'm not someone that's here denying lighter man skill. I think you can move up a weight class or two. But Ilia used to be a 135er, and now he's talking about fighting. I won't get to the 170 conversation in a little bit, bro. But what I'm trying to say here is that Islam Makhachev has a really big size advantage over Ilia. If they fought at 155, he would fucking bulk up and he'd still be a lot bigger than him. I think that on the ground, if Islam takes Ilia down, I don't know if Ilia gets up. Not just because of the size advantage, but because of the technicality of Islam. He's probably one of the best grapplers we have ever seen. Subbed Oliveira, subbed Poirier, subbed fucking everybody, bro. And knocked out Volk. Look, here's what I'll say, though. We see Islam Makhachev fight boxers like Poirier and Volk, and they have given him trouble in the past, which is why I'm kind of leaning towards JDM in this Islam fight, right? I just think that Islam Makhachev, he poses a lot of problems to Ilia, and Ilia poses a lot of problems to him, and I think that this is a 50-50 fight, man. I think that this fight could go either way, and I think that this is the fight that should have been made because, honestly, I don't think all the other people that I've mentioned really give him any problems except for Serukian and Gene Silva, you know? I think he fucking kills everybody else. And the final person on this list I want to talk about is Jack Della Maddalena, bruh. I've seen Ilia Topuria toying with the idea of going to 170, and if you go to 170, that's already a big problem, especially if you fight Islam, because you'll be literally 5'7" at 170. Last person that did that was, I think Woodley was 5'9", so if Ilia Topuria he moved to 170, he would already be around the same size as, dude, Buckley would be taller than Ilia, you know? That's something we got to consider here, bro. But the point I'm trying to make here is that I've seen JDM saying, yeah, I'm the true BMF. I got the BMF lineal belt. And I think Ilia Topuria should stay far away from 170, bro, because these people are going to have literally, like, you think Islam Makhachev will have a weight advantage over Ilia. Somebody like JDM, who is a natural 170er, would, like, he would be literally, he's already, like, going to be 5 or 6 inches taller than you. He's going to hit way harder than you. And he's already around the same level, technically, as a boxer as you. It would not be a good night for Ilia. So I don't think that Ilia should go to 170. I think that would be a very bad career move. I know you was the champ, you could be the champ or whatever. Don't do that shit, bro. You're fucking shoot yourself in the foot. I think JDM is too big for Ilia. A lighter man skill, it exists, bro. But to a certain point, there comes a point where it matters what fucking size you are, man. There's a reason the weight classes exist, and we have to talk about that. So, yeah, man. Those are the people who I think could beat not beat, but hold up. Re-record that part. Hold up. So those are the ranking. Hold up. Let me start over again. So those are all the future opponents of Ilia Topuria ranked from easiest to hardest. I think that he probably beats most of them. I think Islam Makhachev would be the most realistic fight that could happen, and I think that's a 50-50. I don't think Ilia should move to 170, and I think he probably beats everybody else in the UFC pretty clearly. So, yeah, man, if you like the video, like, subscribe, do all that YouTube shit. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.